Hello, good morning. Well, it's coming up to 10 a.m. on a weekday in January and I find myself with a few hours free. So I'm just off to explore by bicycle and on foot a couple of disused railway tunnels. No, not these tunnels. These tunnels. So what's today all about? Why am I exploring some old railway tunnels and where are they? Well, I'm exploring a little bit the former Somerset and Dorset Railway, which ran from Bath down to Bournemouth, and it was dismantled in the 1960s as part of the Beeching Acts. So when I was growing up, my older brother, was a big train fan, and he often had books for Christmas and birthdays about the Somerset and Dorset Railway. Although it didn't really interest me, I'd flick through them, and I remember being fascinated by the place names. In particular, Vinegar. As an 8 or 9-year-old, I just didn't, it confused me how to pronounce it. I wasn't sure if it was Boingar or Vinegar. Vinegar sounded a little bit comical. So there was that fascination. And then when I started exploring, primarily by bicycle, but also motorcycling and walking, I kept coming across a lot of these locations. I remember cycling up hills, I guess in my early 20s, getting to the top of the hill, covered in sweat, out of breath, and you'd see these railway bridges and think, that shouldn't be there. It's a bit like being in Switzerland, top of a hill, they just look completely out of place. So as I began to fall in love with the local countryside, I actually started coming across a lot of these locations that I recognised, from these books in my early years. And then, I guess it must have been in my 30s, I saw a local television programme about the railway, and I came across this guy called Mac Hawkins. He's become a hero of mine, actually. He used his training as a soldier. I think he went on to become a surveyor. Produced a couple of books where he got permission to use the old photographs of the line, and then he would replicate modern day versions of it. And he was clearly very gifted, and I sort of related to it, what he was doing actually. And the more I read it, the more I just admired Mac Hawkins so much. He was clearly very, very gifted. Had this amazing eye of detail, and even the fact that he'd got permission to use a lot of Ivo Peter's old photographs. The family obviously trusted him. He even got access to a lot of the photographs that Ivo really wasn't pleased with, and so there's some quite obscure photographs in there. There's some great humorous anecdotes about replicating these photographs. I mean, he'd take a stepladder out with him, and quite often he'd be in the middle of a country lane taking photographs of fields, what people must have thought. There's one example where, I don't know how he managed to achieve this, but he took a photograph down at a supermarket aisle where a station used to be. I think it was in Bridgewater. And quite often, Ivo Peters had taken these pictures maybe up signal posts and things like that, and which were no longer there, and Mac would replicate it by asking local builders if they would take him up on a forklift. So these amazing stories actually. But I guess my favourite one was not far from where I live actually. So I can just sort of picture the scene. There's Mac, with his tripod and his camera. He must have had some sort of file with the photographs and must have been paying a lot of attention to it. And this guy was bricklaying and sort of came across to him and asked what he was up to. Obviously a bit concerned. I was quite reassured when Mac told him his purpose, and Mac sort of recalls he thinks this guy may have been building without planning permission. So the geography of the railway has always fascinated me. I'm not really a train buff, but I love exploring old bits of it. So today I'm exploring the bit which crosses over the Mendips. It was well known for being a very demanding railway. So this diagram gives you an idea of the severity of the challenge getting a railway across the Mendips. So the bit I'm going to explore today is that ringed bit. It's just south of the summit. In fact, where I am now, I'm just south of the summit. In fact, the summit is about a quarter of a mile back up that way. I'm above the old Masbury station. So from what I've always understood, because of the severity of getting a railway line across the Mendips, it was actually quite challenging to get trains, and it quite often required 2 steam engines to get a passenger train across. If you can imagine it's challenging at the best of times, the severe winter of 1963 really caused problems. I mean, trains literally got stranded up here and had to be dug out. I mean, here's a picture. But here's another picture of that winter, picture of a train coming up, and you can sort of see the end of the platform there and just how severe the conditions were. Well, just a couple of 100 yards from Masbury Station on this mining road, you can see a bit of old embankment here. What goes up must come down, and I can just sort of picture almost a couple of 100 tons of train coming down here. You know, if they had trouble getting up, they must have had terrible problems, you know, slowing it. So there's that embankment heading down southwards towards Shepton Mallet, and it goes through some woods, and then it goes through our destination today, Windsor Hill Tunnels. Unfortunately, I've got to take quite a long detour down this road, drop down into the village of Croscombe, along the Sheppey Valley, and then back up. So in effect I've got to do 3 sides of a square just to get a few 100 yards down there. You can go across fields, I've done it once before, but very, very muddy. Certainly wouldn't be doing that today in the middle of winter. So I've just dropped down to the village of Croscombe, and now I'm on the busy Shepton to Wells Road. You can ride along this pavement. It's only a couple of 100 yards. You come past the boundary sign, really nice waterfall there. And then we're going to be heading up that lane off to the left. So Windsor Hill tunnels are quite difficult to locate. Many people find they need a couple of attempts to actually find them, including me, I would hasten to add. So I think probably the best way to demonstrate this is through Google Maps. Firstly, I apologise for the poor quality of film in my computer screen, but my computer just will not do screen grab anymore. So I'm going to put a link to this in the description of this video. So what we can do is collapse this panel there, and there's the route. That's where I've just turned off the Wells to Shepton Mallet road. So what great thing about this is you can zoom in, you can convert it to a satellite image. Now with a satellite image you can actually clearly see the defined course of the old railway. So if we zoom in, I've ridden along Ham Lane to this T-junction here, turned right onto Windsor Hill Lane, and then very, very shortly turning right onto Forum Lane. And that's where this road crosses the course of the old railway. And a great thing about Google Maps is if you zoom right in, that's where I'm heading for. What I can do here is drag this peg man and drop it right on that spot, and you see what happens. We get a street view, and this is what you're heading for. This is the remains of the old bridge of the railway going across, so you'll know when you get there. You're coming down in this direction, so that bridge parapet is going to be on your right hand side, then I'm going to be heading down this lane. So how you navigate on here is to go back to either the map view or the satellite view. You just press that arrow there to change between map and satellite. You just change that, and if you want to go back to the panel, you go there. So here we are down that lane, the bridge here, S&D 78. Interesting thing about this, for me, it looks like it's not going to survive much longer. Some of the other structures, especially the ones with the engineering bricks, look like they can probably be used tomorrow, or possibly strengthened and reused. This looks very vulnerable actually, especially with the ivy penetrating in. So anyway, that's where we're going to be heading, up this footpath here. So from that bridge I've walked about 100 yards along the footpath, and I've just come down this little bit of rock with my bike, and I've arrived at this spot, the entrance to a farm and some paddocks. This is a good place for me to lock my bike, take the rack bag off, convert it into a shoulder bag, and then to access the tunnels I just head back towards the farm here. And you've got this footpath here. So here we are at the mouth of what was the downline tunnel. So all the way along I've been talking about tunnels. There's quite a fascinating story behind this, so let me try and explain. Like two mountains we are.